I am Pastor Henry Hildebrandt. Want to give you a little bit of an update on what we dealt with this morning in our morning service. Um, the topic was the system of this world. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 2 calls it the course of this world. We have the Greek word for it would be cosmos, which would be translated orderly arrangement or an orderly system. To the human eyes beholding all the activity throughout the earth going on right now, the world looks anything but orderly. It looks confusing, to say the least. Jesus, in the Bible, we read how he took care of the system in his time. We read of Paul. He was dealing with the system of his time, and now it's our turn. 2020, here we are. What does this system look like in our time? Obviously, we're still dealing with the coronavirus. And maybe as a disclaimer, I would just like to say here again that we are not saying that there's not a flu going around, perhaps even a severe flu. But the numbers, the stats, the data that we're getting from the system does not back it up, what they're telling us. And there's still major differences made. For example, this last week, the Blue Jays were granted an exemption. It says all 30 Major League Baseball teams will train at their regular season ballparks for the pandemic-shortened season after the Toronto Blue Jays received a Canadian federal government exemption on Thursday to work out at Rogers Centre. It's interesting, as someone said, explain to me why millionaires and billionaires get to play baseball and travel to and from America on private jets, but you can't play ball in a playground and you can't even go to a family funeral across the border. That is what we would call systemic oppression. Systemic oppression means it is the intentional disadvantaging of groups of people based on their identity while advantaging members of the dominant group, gender, race, class, sexual orientation, language, etc. There should be no difference made at all whatsoever. In the Charter of Freedom, Charter of Rights and Freedoms, we clearly read right from the beginning, whereas Canada is founded on principles that recognize the supremacy of God. And then in 15.1, it says, every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law without discrimination. It should make no difference whatsoever if you are a millionaire or a billionaire or somebody with very little money. According to the Charter, we all have the same rights. We all should be getting the same treatment. Now, if COVID-19 was really as deadly as they're saying, why would we have to go around checking healthy people? Why do we have to go around and finding out who all has that disease? It would seem like if it was as serious as it's made to believe, then we should be seeing it all around us, right? So there's a term, as someone said, called medical crusades. They're trying to promote this and telling people what it is all about. But then in the end, it's basically enforced. The World Health Organization is after this and is promoting this and trying to control our lives, basically every dimension of everyday life. We could also call it pharmaceutical slavery. We look at slavery and we think, well, wasn't that finished years ago, many years ago? Well, if we look at it, we are back at it where there is such a thing as pharmaceutical slavery. Let's put it this way, as someone mentioned, if the government announced tonight that the public must now crawl around on their hands and knees because the virus hovers 3 feet above the ground, a lot of people would actually do it. I am here to declare, not me. I will not allow the irrational fear to supersede my freedom. The temporary order to wear the mask is a systemic order to control the masses, not to save lives. Now, I fully believe that we should be careful. I fully believe that we should wash our hands, and if we are not well, we should not be interacting with people. But what we're seeing now is an exaggeration. It has been politicized. There is where the law talks about wearing a mask, there is an exemption. It says a person shall be exempt from wearing a face covering if for any religious reasons the person cannot wear a face covering. Well, I am definitely going to claim my religion and saying that it is against my religion to bow down to the kings of the earth. Social distancing is also against my religion. It's the exact opposite as what the Bible teaches me. So again, the irrational fear does not supersede our freedom. Interestingly enough, Dr. Fauci, who is the top doctor in the US, is presently a little discouraged with the mass vaccination, or I call it that. He says the coronavirus vaccine education effort is not going to be easy. Fauci noted that there is a general anti-science, anti-authority, anti-vaccine feeling among some people in this country, an alarmingly large percentage of people, relatively speaking. He says, given the power of the anti-vaccine movement, we have a lot of work to do to educate people on the truth about vaccines. Anyone who thinks it will be easy is not facing reality. It's going to be very difficult. They did a poll in Canada, and 40% of people across Canada were against this mass vaccination. Then we finished up saying, why are we even talking about this as the church? Well, this is the system of the world. This is the course of the world in 2020. We are all convinced that there is a system. How can this system be fixed? One thing is for sure, the system will not fix itself. Which political party will fix the system? None. It will take more than a political party. Sinners can fix the sin problem. It says, whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God, it takes God, it takes Jesus, it takes the Bible, it takes salvation, it takes the people of God, it takes prayer, it takes the church. The only foundation in this whole thing is the Bible. And we must call it for what it is. Call the people back to the Bible and let them know, like the founders of Canada said, it is founded on the supremacy of God. This country is founded on the Word of God, and we should be getting back to it and recognize it takes God to fix the problem. It takes the Word of God. That's our only foundation. May God bless you.